The Knicks may have found two sneaky, great rotation pieces last night. The Knicks really showed out last night, and it wasn't just the stars putting in work. The whole squad contributed to a gritty, stat-loaded win. Let's just start with what they pulled off as a team. They came back from a 20-point hole. That's not just impressive, it made NBA history. That's now 3 games this postseason where they've come back from being down by 20 or more. No team has ever done that before in a single playoff run. Then in the fourth quarter, they locked it in and outscored Indiana 36-20. Karl Anthony Towns matched the entire Pacers team with 20 points just in that quarter. He hit 6 out of 8 shots, drained 3 out of 4 from deep, and knocked down 5 of 6 from the free throw line. That kind of scoring efficiency from one player in 12 minutes is just nasty. Now let's talk defense. The Knicks switched up their starting lineup again. With Brunson, Bridges, OG, Towns, and Robinson out there, they were +1 in 14 minutes. The old starting group, the one with Josh Hart instead, was +9 in just 4 minutes. That's not a small shift. Their rotations are giving them flexibility, and those numbers show it. And they held Indiana to just 100 points total. That's their lowest scoring output of the playoffs so far. Even more brutal, Indiana only hit 5 3-pointers out of 25 attempts. That's just 20%. Way under their season average of 14 made threes a game. So yes, the Knicks clamped up. They also shot lights out from the free throw line when it mattered. 15 out of 15 in the last 10 minutes. And they hit all 6 of their final attempts in the last 20 seconds. Ice cold. On the other end, Indiana's stars tried to keep up. Halliburton and Siakam combined for 37 points, but it didn't help. Siakam had a -21 plus-minus, and Halliburton was at -6. That's the kind of impact you don't want to see next to your name. Now let's get to Dolan Wright, because that dude made his 13 minutes count like he was playing 30. It was the first time in the series he saw meaningful minutes, and he got thrown right into the fire, guarding Halliburton and McConnell at the point of attack. He didn't blink. With him on the floor, the Knicks defense had a rating of 102.3. That's a 16.5 improvement over what they were giving up before. That's not a tweak, that's a transformation. He contested 4 shots and forced 2 turnovers. One of those deflections led directly to a Towns fast break dunk. And while he wasn't lighting it up on offense, he was clean and effective. He went 2 for 3 from the field and picked up 2 assists. One of those was a smooth little layup in the fourth quarter off a Towns assist. He wasn't just out there jogging around either. His offensive rating on the court was 118.7. That's 30 points higher than Cam Payne's has been in earlier games. That's not a typo. 30 points higher. He ended with a +2, which may not seem huge, but compared to Payne's -18.8 net rating over the last 13 games, and it's a total upgrade. By the way, if you guys enjoy these deep dives, I'll be posting every day during this playoffs. I genuinely appreciate if you could subscribe. Thanks. Anyways, and now, Landry. I don't know what pregame cereal he had, but it worked. He only played 11 minutes, but he had the best plus-minus on the entire team at +12. The Knicks outscored Indiana by 14 points while he was on the floor. That included a 10-2 run to start the fourth quarter, and that was all without him putting up monster box score numbers. He scored 3 points on 1 for 2 shooting from 3. That's it. But the impact was everywhere else. On defense, he was in charge of checking Andrew Nembhard. Nembhard didn't get a single shot to fall while Shamet was guarding him. 0 for 3. On top of that, Shamet grabbed 2 steals and really jammed up Indiana's transition game. That's a part of the game where Indiana's usually good for 14 fast break points a night. Not this time. He also added 2 assists, and they were both good ones. He found OG for a dunk and kicked one out to Bridges, who drilled a 3. Again, not flashy, but absolutely efficient. Now here's where it gets even more fun. Look at the advanced stats. Wright's 13 minutes came with a field goal percentage of 66.7 and a usage rate of 12.1. Shamet hit 50% of his shots and nailed half of his threes with a usage rate of just 8.4. But here's the kicker. The defense rating for Shamet was 98.6. That's elite territory. These guys weren't just passengers in a blowout, they were moving the needle. They also punched above their minutes when it came to defensive win shares. Wright logged 0.08 and Shamet had 0.06. Together, they made up 14% of the team's total, and that's with them playing limited minutes. If you stretch that out over a full game, they'd be among the leaders. The on-off numbers are just as wild. With Shamet on the floor, the Knicks' net rating jumped by +21.4. With Wright, it improved by +9.1. That's straight-up impact that you feel in the score. And context matters too. Their minutes came without Brunson on the floor. That opened things up for Towns to take over. In the fourth quarter alone, Towns had a usage rate of 48.1%. So Wright and Shamet weren't just filler minutes. They were the support system during the most dominant stretch of the game. Also, when Wright and Shamet were on the court together, Indiana's bench got steamrolled. McConnell, Mathurin, and Shepard got outscored 18-6 during that shared stretch. That kind of bench dominance doesn't usually come from your 7th and 8th men, but here we are. So yeah, the Knicks had a monster night as a team, but Wright and Shamet, they turned limited minutes into maximum impact. Stats don't lie, but let's talk about how much these two have helped the Knicks individually this year when they played. We'll start with Wright. Delon Wright's impact on the Knicks this season has been like flipping on a light switch in a dim room. Suddenly, everything just starts to make sense. When he's on the court, this team doesn't just look more composed. They're tangibly, statistically better across nearly every advanced defensive and efficiency metric. It's wild how much smoother things flow, and when you dig into the numbers, there's no denying how much his presence has mattered in what's been a hard-nosed campaign. Let's get into the numbers that make the case loud and clear. The defensive improvement when Wright is on the floor is one of the most consistent threads of the Knicks season. It's not just the eye test. Though yes, watching him stick to point guards like Velcro has been fun, it's baked right into the stats. Wright averages 0.9 steals in under 16 minutes per game. That's already solid, but stretch that out over 36 minutes, and he's putting up over 2 steals a game. That rate isn't just good, it puts him at the top tier of defensive guards on the roster. The dude has active hands, sharp instincts, and he doesn't gamble recklessly. He gets deflections and steals without compromising the rest of the defense. Now look at the defensive rating with him in the mix. In games where he logged over 20 minutes, the Knicks allowed 5.2 fewer points per 100 possessions than in games without him playing extended time. That's not a fluke. When he's on the floor, opponents get smothered. On-off splits tell the same story. 108.3 defensive rating with him on, and 112.1 with him off. That's a 3.8 improvement. And over the course of a full game or series, that's a difference maker. That's the kind of shift that wins you tight playoff games. And again, Wright isn't putting up these numbers in massive starter minutes. He's doing this in limited bursts, often coming in cold, and still managing to tilt the floor defensively. That's hard to do. Most bench guards get exposed when the pace picks up, or when they're matched up against quicker lineups. Not Wright. He's like a walking brake pedal for the other team's offense. He slows them down, mucks things up, and then gives the ball back to the Knicks with a live dribble. Offensively, Wright's not out there trying to be flashy, but he's efficient and unselfish. This season, his true shooting percentage sits at 44, which, yeah, on paper isn't mind-blowing, but it doesn't tell the full story. When he's been asked to start, he's stepped up. In 7 starts, he bumped that number up to 50.3 true shooting, while averaging nearly 8 points, over 4 assists, and 3 rebounds per game. That's solid starter production on a team that's asked its guards to do a lot of everything. What really jumps off the page, though, is his assist-to-turnover ratio. Wright holds a 3.2 ratio, one of the cleanest in the entire Knicks backcourt, and second best among all Knicks guards who've played 20 or more games. That's someone you can trust to make smart reads, take care of the ball, and not sabotage possessions. The Knicks have had their struggles with turnover-prone bench units in the past, but this season, Wright's been the one keeping the machine steady when the stars hit the bench. And speaking of clutch moments in games decided by 5 points or less, Wright's been sneaky effective. He's hit nearly 37% of his 3-point attempts in those situations. Sure, it's a small sample size, 11 attempts, but when those shots came, they counted. You'd much rather have someone who's not afraid to take that look, who's calm and measured, and doesn't try to do too much. Wright's that guy. One of the most interesting wrinkles in his season has been his lineup synergy. When he shares the floor with Josh Hart and Mitchell Robinson, the trio has produced a net rating of plus 12.3 in 42 minutes. That's the best net rating of any 3-man group Wright's been part of. The chemistry in those units is hard to miss. Wright plays smart perimeter defense, Hart does all the glue guy things, and Robinson locks it down around the rim. It's not a flashy trio, but they don't give up much, and they're efficient in their roles. Let's also talk plus-minus for a minute. In the playoffs, so far, Wright's posted a +2 per 100 possessions, which ranks 3rd among all Knicks reserves, and this is on a team that's been rolling out a deep bench. So when he gets his minutes, he's not just staying afloat, he's lifting the floor. Then there's the playmaking. Wright isn't a high-usage ball handler, but when he does drive, he's purposeful. As a starter, he's averaged over 5 potential assists per game, and his teammates are hitting 42% of the shots that come off his passes. That's drive and kick execution. He's not out there padding stats or over-dribbling. He drives, draws, and dishes. and the ball usually ends up in the hands of an open shooter or cutter. And here's a number that should make coaches smile. 0 turnovers in the final 3 minutes of close games. 0. In 12 minutes of clutch time across those games, he's protected the ball like it was a family heirloom. That level of composure is rare, especially in backup guards who sometimes try to force their moment. Not Wright. He doesn't force, he finds. Even when you look at broader metrics like win shares, Wright holds up well. He's posted 0.7 win shares in just 40 games this season. That would scale to 1.4 over a full 82-game season. That's higher than guys like McBride, who've played more minutes. He's making the most out of every minute, and it's paying off. Zooming in on the defense again, he's produced 0.3 defensive win shares, which ranks 4th among Knicks guards, even though he's played fewer total minutes. That's what happens when your presence on the court directly results in fewer points for the other team. He may not be grabbing the headlines, but his game is absolutely making an impact in the most tangible way, keeping opponents from scoring. What makes Wright's role even more impressive is how adaptable he's been. When called on to start, he's delivered. When asked to anchor bench units, he's elevated them. When the Knicks need to calm down a frantic stretch or survive a tough defensive matchup, he gets the nod. And in each of those roles, the stats back up the trust. The Knicks this season have been a story of resilience and tough-nosed identity, and Wright fits right into that mold. His numbers scream utility, he fills the gaps, and he does it without taking anything off the table. A guard who doesn't turn it over, who plays top-tier defense, who makes plays under pressure, and who thrives in lineups with other strong defenders, that's the kind of player who wins you playoff games. There's this idea that every team needs stars to shine, but if you look at the deepest playoff runs, it's usually the guys like Wright that end up being the difference in close series. They're the ones who get the deflection, make the skip pass, hit the timely 3, and don't blink in the last minute. The Knicks have leaned on those kinds of players all year, and Wright, even in limited action, has consistently shown he belongs in those moments. In a season full of adjustments, injuries, and rotations, Delon Wright has been a stabilizing force. His numbers might not blow up the box score, but if you look just a layer deeper into the impact stats, the efficiency numbers, and the lineup data, it's clear the Knicks are better when he's on the floor. So sure, he's not going to give you 30 points and 10 assists, but if you want fewer mistakes, tighter defense, smarter possessions, and winning lineups, then yeah, Delon Wright might be one of the most quietly valuable pieces this Knicks team has. And in a postseason where every possession matters, that might just be exactly what they need. But then we can do the same for Shamet. Landry Shamet has quietly become one of the most efficient and impactful players in the Knicks rotation this season, and the stats back it up in bold, blinking neon. He's not taking over games with flashy handles or high-usage playmaking. He's not dominating headlines. But what he's doing is possibly even more important, bending defenses with elite shooting, unlocking spacing for the stars, and bringing insane lineup value every time he steps on the court. And yeah, it's all been proven in the numbers. Let's just start with what's been defining his season, his three-point shooting. After the All-Star break, Shamet was scorching. He hit 51 threes while shooting 42% from deep on 120 attempts. That's not volume, shooting from the corner. That's legit movement, relocation, and catch and shoot consistency. Only OG made more threes on the team during that stretch, and OG had a green light in a completely different usage context. Shamet, he made his mark in a more limited role and did it with brutal efficiency. Now dig into the final 10 games of the season, where things got even hotter. He hit 49% of his threes. That kind of closing stretch isn't just a good run, it's the kind of streak that gets you playoff minutes, even in a deep rotation. In the regular season finale against Brooklyn, he put up 29 points and hit 7 threes on 13 attempts. That was the high watermark of his season, and it wasn't just empty numbers. It showed exactly what Shamet looks like when he's given touches, rhythm, and the green light. He's a microwave scorer, sure, but he's a floor spacer who can tilt matchups just by existing on the arc. That's huge on a Knicks team that's built around slashers and rim gravity, guys like Brunson and Towns. And Shamet's efficiency isn't just limited to the eye test or one wild game. His true shooting percentage for the season, 60.1. That's a career high for him and reflects just how smart his shot selection has been. No wasted dribble, no bad heat checks, no dead-end possessions. He knows his role, and he executes it with textbook precision. In clutch situations, games decided by 5 points or fewer, Shamet still produced. On limited attempts, he hit 36.7% of his threes. That might not jump off the screen, but remember the context. Those are high-pressure possessions where most role players shrink. Shamet stayed efficient. He took the same shots, and he kept his mechanics tight. You can't overstate the value of a shooter who stays consistent under playoff-type pressure. Let's zoom out and look at per 40 production. He averaged 15 points per 40 minutes while adding a 9.4% assist rate. That kind of efficiency per minute is exactly what you want from a bench scorer. It means when he's out there, he's not just running laps. He's giving you real, tangible production without needing the ball in his hands for extended stretch. But here's where things get really fun. Lineup impact. With Shamet on the floor this season, the Knicks outscored opponents by 8.4 points per 100 possessions. That's 87th percentile league-wide. To put that in perspective, the starting lineup, fully loaded with stars, had a net rating of plus 4.1. Shamet's impact, almost double that. His presence created space, opened lanes, and kept opposing defenses honest. He may not have been the primary option, but he made the stars more effective by simply being someone defenses had to respect at all times. You want synergy? The trio of Shamet, Josh Hart, and Karl Anthony Towns posted a plus 12.3 net rating in 42 minutes. That's the best net rating of any three-man combo featuring Shamet, and that's not a coincidence. Hart's cutting, Towns' post-gravity, and Shamet's off-ball movement made that group impossible to game plan for. If you help off Shamet, you give up a 3. If you switch too easily, Hart slips to the rim. If you stay home on shooters, Towns eats one-on-one. That trio created matchup hell, and the numbers screamed it. There's also the late season explosion in April that shouldn't be ignored. In the final 4 regular season games, Shamet averaged 16.8 points per game. He shot over 51% from the field and a ridiculous 45% from deep. Again, that's not garbage time production. These were meaningful games in playoff seeding races, and he came through with laser focus and efficiency. He put up 20 points against Philadelphia, going 6 for 11 from 3, and then followed that up with the 29-point gem against Brooklyn. Back-to-back heaters when it counted most. That's not just a bench guy getting hot. That's someone who knows how to step up in big spots and who's been groomed to be a weapon in postseason rotations. During the regular season, his overall scoring average might not wow anyone, 5.7 points per game, but everything beneath the surface says he mattered more than that number suggests. That 42% three-point shooting post-All-Star break, that's what playoff rotations are built around. His plus 8.4 net rating, that's why coaches trust him with minutes when games get tight. And it's no surprise his teammates notice. Josh Hart publicly endorsed Shamet's impact, saying, "We love him knocking down shots. We need that to continue." That's not just locker room talk. That's recognition of how his shooting forces defenses to stretch, bend, and break. What makes Shamet's contributions even more valuable is how they extend beyond just his own shot. His shooting gravity alters how teams play the Knicks' half-court sets. Defenders are glued to him. Help defense gets riskier. Double teams become more costly. All of that opens lanes for slashers and rollers. It turns a simple 2-man action into a 3-man problem for the defense. And Shamet, despite not needing the ball much, creates that chaos. It's hard to put a number on the fear factor of a shooter with Shamet's release and rhythm, but the lineup data gets close. He's made every lineup more efficient, more dangerous, and more dynamic. That's exactly the kind of hidden value that doesn't show up in standard box scores. Even in the playoffs, where rotations shrink and minutes get tougher to earn, Shamet has shown he's not just along for the ride. In limited postseason action, he's continued to post positive net ratings, defend his matchups, and give the team critical spacing. His playoff per minute impact mirrors his regular season. Quiet, unassuming, but undeniable. The advanced metrics agree. He hasn't been high usage, but he's been high value. He's taken care of the ball, hit his open looks, played smart team defense, and meshed well in all lineup combinations. His turnover rate is low, his assist rate is enough to keep the ball moving, and his shooting splits have been elite when it's mattered most. What's more, Shamet doesn't get cooked on defense. He holds his assignments, understands help rotations, and doesn't take bad gambles. He's not an elite stopper, but he doesn't get hunted either, which is half the battle in playoff series where every weakness is exposed. The bottom line, Landry Shamet has played his role to near perfection this year. He's been one of the Knicks' most efficient players. He's brought gravity and consistency to every lineup he's touched. He's shot lights out, stretched the floor, and stayed locked in late in games. His metrics, true shooting, net rating, on-off impact, clutch performance are all pointing to the same conclusion. He makes this team better. He's not flashy, he's not loud, but the numbers don't lie. When Landry Shamet plays, good things happen. The Knicks have been better with him on the floor, measurably, repeatedly, and reliably. And with postseason battles still ahead, his presence might just be one of the reasons this team finds itself in deeper playoff waters. The efficiency, the spacing, the timing, it's all there. And the stats tell every bit of that story. loud and clear. So what does all of this actually mean for the Knicks going forward? Let's put it like this. In the middle of a playoff run, in the middle of a roster constantly being tweaked and tested, two guys, Delon Wright and Landry Shamet, have managed to slide into the rotation and tilt the floor in the Knicks' favor, and not by accident, not by one-off games or lucky shooting streaks, but by doing exactly what winning teams ask from their non-star, by defending, by moving the ball, by playing without mistakes, by amplifying the strengths of everyone else on the floor. That's not just valuable, that's rare. The best part, these two didn't come into the year penciled in as difference makers. They weren't locked into roles. They didn't demand the spotlight. And yet, they've carved out legitimate space in a playoff rotation that's chasing wins, not minutes. That matters a lot. What the Knicks might have found in real time and right in the middle of a playoff series are two guys who solve problems without creating new ones. Think about how rare that is. Most bench players, especially ones added mid-season or shifted into roles because of injuries or matchups, come with trade-offs. You get scoring, but lose defense. You get passing, but sacrifice spacing. You get hustle, but not decision-making. Wright and Shamet, they've both played within their skill sets while punching above their weight. That's hard to find. That's the kind of thing championship-level teams find late in a playoff run and realize, oh, we have something here. And let's not pretend that's easy to do on this stage. There's nothing easy about coming into high-pressure playoff minutes after spending most of the year either in a reduced role or on the fringe of the rotation. But these two didn't flinch. Wright came in and made life miserable for Indiana's guards. He didn't chase highlight plays. He kept the ball in front, made deflections, and helped run their offense into the mud. Shamet, he basically stretched the floor open with a pair of sneakers and a shooter's confidence. No hesitation, no noise, just shot making and smart rotations. More importantly, both of them elevated their teammates. That's what's so clear when you look at the broader picture. Wright didn't just play good individual defense, he made the entire defense better. His presence helped others play tighter, helped lineups stabilize. He didn't need the ball, he didn't demand touches. He just did the things that helped five guys play as one. And Shamet, his shooting forced the defense to make choices. Help off him, and you pay. Stay glued to him, and the lane opens. It's basketball gravity in its purest form, and it's a major asset on a team that's built around attacking and movement. Here's the funny thing. Every postseason, there are one or two guys that make a name for themselves. Not because they go off for 30 points or steal the show, but because when they're out there, the team gets better. The offense looks cleaner. The defense looks more connected. The game looks more winnable. That's been Wright and Shamet over the past few games. Their minutes have looked like green lights flashing in the middle of chaos. They've brought calm, control, and effectiveness. And again, it's not about the box score. It's not about someone running up the numbers in garbage time or putting together a flashy stat line in a blowout. This is about real impact, minutes that shift momentum, possessions that matter, plays that don't show up in highlight reels, but that flip the balance of a game. They've both done that, more than once. There's also something to be said about the trust factor. Thibodeau doesn't hand out rotation minutes in the playoffs like candy on Halloween. If you're on the floor, it's because you earned it. If you're playing fourth quarter minutes in a playoff game after barely seeing the court earlier in the series, that says a lot. That means your presence is changing things. That means your role isn't theoretical. It's earned, and both of these guys have done exactly that. Let's be real here. Rotation depth can be the difference between a deep playoff run and a second-round exit. It's not always about the top-line stars. The NBA postseason is a war of attrition, fatigue, injuries, matchups. These things grind away at teams. If you don't have players on your bench who can step in and keep the machine running, you're in trouble. But the Knicks, they've got two of those guys now. Not just bench warmers, not just depth, actual contributors who've shown they can hold their own in the highest leverage situations of the year. That opens the door for so much flexibility. With Wright, they can go smaller without losing defensive identity. They can rest Brunson without the offense falling apart. They can trust him to bring pace, control, and toughness. With Shamet, they can throw out 3-guard looks without sacrificing size or spacing. They can play faster. They can shoot quicker. They can force defenses to scramble. It adds tools to the toolbox that just weren't available earlier in the season. You also have to admire the mentality. Neither one of them looks like they're out there trying to prove something. They're not pressing. They're not looking for their shot. Every possession, they're just playing like they've been in that role all year. That's the part that really sticks out. Their confidence doesn't feel forced. It feels earned, like they know exactly what the team needs from them and they're ready to deliver it. If you're the Knicks, this is the kind of postseason revelation that changes everything, because now you're not just relying on your stars to do everything. You've got real depth, real reliability, Players who can be trusted to close a quarter, steady the floor, swing a momentum stretch. That's not just nice to have, that's a game changer. Let's not forget either, these aren't guys in their first or second year, still figuring it out. They're veterans. They've been around the league. They've seen different systems, different coaches, different roles. And maybe that's exactly why they fit so well now. They know what it means to play within structure, to stay ready, to show up when the moment calls. And the Knicks needed that. They still do. In a playoff landscape that's unforgiving and built on tiny margins, every extra contributor matters. Every rotation piece that doesn't hurt you is a gift. Every shift that doesn't bleed, points or possessions, is a win. Wright and Shamet aren't just holding down the fort, they're swinging games. They're turning close ones into wins. They're reshaping expectations. And maybe that's the biggest thing here. Maybe what we saw the other night wasn't just a couple of good games. Maybe it was something bigger. Maybe the Knicks didn't just survive that game, they discovered something. Two players who can carry a share of the weight, take pressure off the stars, and give this team a shot at lasting longer than anyone expected. So yeah, stars are great. Stars get the banners, the endorsements, the highlight reels, but role players win playoff series. The guys who play mistake-free minutes. The guys who swing momentum with smart decisions. The guys who give you a reason to trust the second unit. That's who Wright and Shamet have been. And if the Knicks keep getting this kind of production from those two, then the rest of the East better start paying attention. Because it's not just the top of the roster that's dangerous anymore. It's the bench too. And that's the kind of development that takes a dangerous team and makes them a real threat. If you guys enjoyed this, I'll be posting every day during this playoffs. I genuinely appreciate if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching.